Hi everyone, my name is Arnab and today I'll be discussing how I'm exploring the relationship between neural activity recorded through resting stage electroencephalography, or EEG for short, and a genetic risk factor for late onset Alzheimer's disease, the PICALM gene's G allele. Resting stage EEG essentially refers to the measurement of electrical activity in the brain during a rest or non-stimulated state. Electrical activity is recorded across different frequencies or bands. This study explores the beta band, which ranges from 13 to 30 Hz. The dataset used for this study is the Polish electroencephalography Alzheimer's risk genes lifestyle and neuroimaging database, or PearlNeuro for short. This dataset contains genetic, EEG, lifestyle, and cognitive test data for 79 participants. The important point of this study is that it specifically explores connections regarding beta wave activity. Beta wave research with genetics is not as extensively studied within EEG research, thus there is not substantial literature that explores genetic connections to beta activity in the brain. This study investigates statistically significant differences in beta wave characteristics, such as beta signal length, power, and beta wavelet count during resting stage EEG, and investigates the differences of these characteristics between populations that contain and don't contain the PICALM G allele. The findings of this analysis could spark further research for the possibility of using beta waves as a biomarker for late onset Alzheimer's disease, as well as for exploring the possibility of PICALM gene involvement in the activity of the Thalamocortical circuit, which is a pathway in the brain that generates beta events. We will go deeper into what this means in a later point of this presentation. To analyze the data, the participants were split into two groups, an experimental and a control group. The experimental group contained participants that did have a G allele, and the control group contained participants that did not. Using the MNE-Python package, participants' resting stage EEG data from the channels located in the beta-heavy frontal lobe were read. To process this data and extract solely the beta wave characteristics that were discussed, each participant's recordings are then processed through the spectral events toolbox, returning a table of beta wave power, length, and wavelength count. These data are then compared between the two groups, the experimental and the control groups, using a t-test, which essentially compares the statistical means of two groups. And the t-test essentially would accept or reject the null hypothesis, which is that there is no statistical significance in the beta event characteristics between G allele possessing and non-possessing patients. Conversely, the experimental hypothesis is that there is a statistical significance between beta event characteristics and PICALM G allele presence. The exciting part about this study is not only the possibility to explore whether or not beta wave characteristics can serve as an indicator of G allele presence and increased Alzheimer's risk, but also that this link may point to another connection between PICALM gene expression and the thalamocortical circuit activity. The thalamocortical circuit is a region of the brain with looped neural pathways that connect the thalamus to the cerebral cortex and connect the cerebral cortex back to the thalamus. The neurons in this region are responsible for sensory relay to and from the thalamus and are responsible for much of the brain's beta signaling. The neurons in this region tend to have longer axons that are capable of generating rhythmic oscillatory activity, allowing for efficient beta signaling. A correlation between the PICALM gene and beta events essentially represents a correlation between the gene and the thalamocortical circuit, the pathway which is responsible for driving these beta events. Thus, this discovery could serve as a starting point for further studies to explore PICALM involvement in the development of the thalamocortical circuit, laying the groundwork for new paths in beta wave research. Thank you so much for your time.